I didn't plan on falling in love with my best friend, but the moment he stood in the doorway of the shower trailer, towel around his waist, and whispered, "Are you sure you don't need help?" Everything changed. We went camping just as friends, and we were supposed to come back the same, but some things don't give you a chance to stay the same. He stood in the doorway of the trailer shower, towel slung over one shoulder, water hissing behind him. "You sure you don't need help figuring it out?" he said with a grin that knew too much. That's when I stopped pretending we were just friends. Alex had been in my life for 6 years. We met working weekend shifts at a climbing gym in Santa Cruz. He was loud, unfiltered, always the first to laugh. I was the guy who made sure the crash mats were aligned and signed people in with the right waiver form. Total opposites. But something about the way he filled a room made me stay close. We'd gone through everything together: messy breakups, family drama, long road trips, even one night in a shared hotel bed when a reservation got lost. Nothing happened. We laughed it off. But sometimes I wondered what would have happened if I hadn't rolled away first. The idea for the trip came from him, like always. He bought a second-hand RV and texted me 2 words: "Let's disappear." I didn't ask where. I just said yes. Now we were parked by a lake, 3 hours off-grid, signal dead, miles from anyone we knew. Just us in silence. At first it felt like every other hangout. Burgers on the grill, beer in hand, music playing low. But I noticed it. The way he watched me change shirts, the way our hands brushed a little too often, the way his voice softened when we were alone. And then the shower. I made a joke about breaking it. He followed me inside, showing me how to work the controls. Casual at first, but then he didn't leave. He stood by the open curtain, arms crossed, that same smirk on his face. "Tight fit, but it works." I laughed nervously. "Looks like a one-person job." He stepped forward, barely closing the space between us. "You sure?" That pause, that 1 second where I could have made it funny again, turned away, shut the door. But I didn't. I stood there, heart pounding, unsure what to say. He must have seen it in my face, in the shift, the hesitation. "I'm not trying to mess with you," he said. I've thought about this." That froze me. "Since when?" He didn't flinch. "Since that night in Austin. You fell asleep and wrapped your arm around me. I never forgot it." The air changed. My chest felt too tight, like there wasn't enough space in that trailer anymore. "Why didn't you ever say anything? I didn't know if you wanted me to." I stepped back, not away from him, just to breathe. All those years of friendship, of almost, of missed looks and brushed shoulders. I thought I'd buried it. I thought I was the only one. He didn't push. He didn't move. Just stood there, still and waiting. "I don't want this to be some random thing," I said quietly. "It's not." The water kept running behind us. Steam filled the room, but we were frozen in place, too scared to break the moment or push it forward. And then I nodded, small but enough. "Okay," I whispered. That was it. We didn't kiss. We didn't touch. We just knew. And that night, something unspoken passed between us as we moved around the small space, making tea, brushing teeth, avoiding too much eye contact. But the silence wasn't empty. It was charged. He sat across from me at the tiny booth, knee bouncing. "I wasn't planning this. I know. I just wanted time with you. But now we're here, and I don't want to pretend anymore." I looked at him, really looked. "Neither do I." A beat passed, then another. "We good?" he asked. I wanted to say yes, but something caught in my chest. "We're different now," I said. "I don't know what that means yet." His smile faded just slightly, replaced by something more real. Maybe that's okay. We both stayed up late that night, not talking, just existing. Something had shifted, and it was terrifying. But maybe it was finally honest. The next morning felt different. We moved around each other like something unspoken had taken shape. Not heavy, not awkward, just careful. Alex made coffee, humming low under his breath. I caught him watching me more than once, like he wasn't sure how real any of this was yet. We didn't talk about last night. We didn't need to. Not yet. He handed me a hoodie and asked if I wanted to walk down to the lake. The trail was quiet, carpeted with pine needles, birds chattering somewhere in the trees. We didn't say much, just walked close enough for our shoulders to brush. When we reached the water, we sat on a fallen log. The lake was glass still, the sun breaking through the clouds in patches. Then he said it. "So what now?" The words landed like a dropped rock. I swallowed. "You mean after the weekend?" He nodded. I opened my mouth, no idea what I was going to say, and that's when we heard footsteps. A guy, mid-20s, athletic, sharp look in his eye, passed by on the trail behind us. He slowed just slightly, enough to glance at the RV parked a few yards away. "Nice setup," he said, then added with a smirk. "Not just the trailer that's hot." Alex froze beside me. The guy kept walking. No pause, no second look. But the damage was instant. I turned to Alex. "Do you know him?" He hesitated. "Sort of. From an application. We never met." Something tightened in my chest. I didn't move. "It was months ago," he added quickly. "I barely remember him. But I saw it. The flicker in his eyes. Embarrassment? Guilt? Something like that. And it stuck deeper than I expected." "I didn't expect him to be here," he said. I nodded, not trusting my voice. He reached for my hand. I pulled mine back without meaning to. That single motion shifted everything. "I didn't know we were exclusive," I said, quiet. He flinched like I'd hit him. "You think this is just a hookup to me?" "I don't know what this is." He stood up, raked a hand through his hair. "I wanted this. I do. But I don't know how to do this right." "Then say that," I replied. "Don't act like nothing happened just because it's easier." His shoulders dropped. He looked out at the lake, then back at me. "I don't want this to break," he said. I believed him. But something had already cracked. We walked back in silence. The trail felt longer now, the air colder. When we reached the trailer, it looked different too. Smaller somehow. Quieter. We didn't speak as we moved inside. He changed in the bathroom. I sat by the window staring out at the lake, like it could tell me what came next. Later, we sat by the fire pit. 2 beers, separate blankets, the flames between us. We'd barely started sipping when it happened. A flashlight beam cut through the trees. "Hey," someone called out, casual. It was him, the guy from earlier. He stepped into the firelight, holding marshmallows and a stick like he belonged there. "Didn't mean to crash the vibe. Figured you guys might want s'mores." Alex stiffened beside me. I said nothing. The guy sat down without waiting for a reply, tossing a marshmallow into the fire. He started talking. Road trips, gear, weather, all surface-level noise. But I wasn't listening. I was watching Alex. Who wasn't watching me? Then the guy dropped it. "So you two together or?" The question hung like smoke. Alex froze. I answered, "We're figuring things out." The guy smiled, that same grin. "Cool. Looks like it's going well." But there was something else in his tone, a knowing edge. Alex stood up suddenly. "I'm heading in." He didn't wait. I stayed behind for a second, long enough to see the guy looking at me. "You seem more into it than he is," he said. I didn't reply, just stood, left the fire, and followed Alex into the trailer. He was already in bed, turned away. "You okay?" I asked. Silence. I didn't like him either. Still nothing. I sat on the edge of the bed, heart pounding. Then he whispered, "He messaged me again last week." That landed harder than I wanted it to. I didn't reply, he added. "I swear." "But you didn't delete it either," I said. He closed his eyes. "I didn't think this was real yet." "I did." "I want you," he said. "I just don't want to mess it up." "You already did," I whispered. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. Because sometimes, even when something breaks, you hold on. But only if it's honest now. I woke up alone. The trailer was too quiet. Alex's side of the bed was cold. His hoodie still hung on the hook. His boots were untouched by the door. But the door itself was cracked open, just enough for morning air to drift in. At first, I told myself he went to the lake, maybe just to clear his head after everything last night. Maybe he needed space. But then I saw the note. It was folded under a coffee mug on the table. My name on the front in rushed, uneven letters. Nick, didn't sleep much, needed time. Don't freak out. You'll understand soon. Check the glove compartment. My pulse kicked up. I opened the glove box and pulled out a second note. A map. Hand-drawn. Sharp lines, clear turns. A marked X just past a trail I didn't recognize. Taped to the corner was a small silver key. Go alone. No phones. No questions. Ridiculous. Dramatic. Exactly like him. And still, I shoved the key into my pocket, grabbed a bottle of water, and stepped out. The trail pulled me deeper than I expected, past the lake, then uphill through pines that made the world feel miles away from cell towers or second thoughts. Moss softened each step, branches cracked low underfoot. The air smelled like damp bark and memory. It took nearly 30 minutes before I saw it. A small platform tucked into a clearing. Weathered wood, a bench, a few candle jars scattered around, burned down to their stubs. But it was the photo that hit me. Pinned above the bench with a nail was a picture of us, taken 2 years ago on a trip I'd almost forgotten. Alex's arm around my shoulders, me mid-laugh, looking up at him like the world had narrowed to just that moment. I stared at it too long before noticing the paper tape beneath it. Built this last summer to get away, but every time I came here I thought of you. Every time. Not just this week. For years. I didn't say it before because I didn't know how. But now you do. I sat down on the bench hard, the key still in my hand. Underneath was a locked tin box. I opened it. Inside, an envelope and a stack of old notes. Some I recognized in my own handwriting from years back. Birthday cards, post-it jokes, a list I once wrote for a grocery run in Big Sur. He'd kept them, all of them. The envelope had one line. Still want to figure this out? I didn't even hear him walk up behind me. Just his breath first. Slow, like he wasn't sure I'd stayed. I turned. He looked scared, not afraid of me, afraid I'd laugh or walk away. I didn't know how else to say it, he said, so I figured I'd stop trying to be cool and just do something real. I didn't speak. I stood, walked toward him, and kissed him. Not because it was romantic, but because it was real. I've been waiting for you to show up, I said. You're the only one I ever kept coming back to, he replied. The walk back to the trailer was different, quieter but lighter. He held my hand the whole way, like he'd finally stopped holding back. He made dinner. I set up music. We let the old playlist run, even the tracks we usually skipped. We didn't talk much, just smiled too often. Brushed against each other too easily. Later in bed, I rested my head on his chest. His fingers moved lazily across my spine. Then he whispered, I still think about that night in Austin. I didn't answer. I just listened. I was awake when you rolled over. I lay there for hours pretending to sleep. I was scared you'd feel my heartbeat. I looked up at him. I was scared you'd pull away. He kissed me, slow and quiet. Then he said it. The line that made something inside me flinch. Even if this doesn't work out, it was worth it. I froze. What do you mean if it doesn't work out? I asked, not looking at him. He blinked, confused. I didn't mean it like that. I meant this was worth crossing the line, no matter what happens. So it was a test? No, he said, sitting up. You're twisting this. I sat up too. My chest tightened. No, I said. You're hedging, already giving yourself an escape hatch. I'm trying to be honest. That's the problem. You're still afraid this is temporary. He went quiet. Then softer, he said, I've never been in anything that felt like this. It scares the hell out of me. But I want it. I want you. I just don't know how to stop bracing for the crash. I looked at him, tired and raw. Then stop talking about endings, I said. Not tonight. He pulled me in, and I let him. No music, no noise. Just breathing, just hands, just now. We didn't solve anything, but we stayed. And sometimes that's all you can ask. I woke to the sound of knocking, 3 sharp raps on the trailer door. Alex stirred beside me, still half asleep, until the second round came louder. He sat up slowly. You expecting someone? No, I said instantly. My heart was already racing. We're in the middle of nowhere. He grabbed his phone, but it still showed no service. The clock blinked 7:12 a.m. He motioned for me to stay put, then stepped to the door and opened it a few inches. A woman stood outside. Athletic building, mid-30s, calm voice. Alex, he froze, the air changed. I didn't think you'd actually be here, she said. His face shifted. Not surprise, guilt. I moved behind him, enough to be seen. Can we help you? I asked. She looked at me, then back to him. So it's true. What are you doing here, Maya? He asked, stepping outside. I'm visiting my sister, she said flatly. She camps out here every spring. We passed your trailer last night. I thought I was imagining it. No one spoke. She crossed her arms. You weren't going to tell me? Alex didn't answer. She looked at me again. Not cruel, just direct. So this is what was already starting before we ended, he exhaled. Number, this is recent, it's real, but it didn't start before you and I ended. It never does, right? She said. Not until after. Alex flinched. I didn't lie to you, he said. We broke up because we weren't working. Not because of this. Then why didn't you say anything? She asked. Because I didn't know what it was yet. She let out a short breath that sounded more tired than angry. Funny. I always wondered what would finally crack you open. And then she turned and walked away. No shouting, no scene, just silence. Alex stood in the doorway for a long time after. When he turned, his eyes were glassy. I didn't want that to happen like that, he said quietly. I sat at the table. So who was she? Your ex? He nodded. We dated for almost 2 years. She was good to me. I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping things clear. Clean break, no overlap. I stayed quiet. She didn't know I was not straight, he added, because I didn't know either. Not really. But I'm guessing she had questions, I said. He nodded. Yeah. He looked shaken. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or fear or both. I asked carefully, Are you ashamed of being with me? His head snapped up. Number God, no. I didn't think the past would follow me here. Well, I said, it always does. We didn't speak much that afternoon. He packed up the firewood slowly. I wiped down the table. The lake shimmered in the distance, like nothing had happened. But we both knew something had. Later in the trailer, he sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, silent for too long. Then he said, I've never been scared of losing a girlfriend before. I looked at him. I thought that made me independent, he continued, but I think I just never picked anyone who mattered enough to scare me. He looked over. You scare the hell out of me. I didn't say anything. I just sat beside him, quietly. I don't want to run anymore, he said, but I don't know how to stop. He looked down at his hands like they weren't his, like he was still trying to decide who he was allowed to be. You don't have to know everything yet, I said. You just have to stop pretending you're not already in it. He gave a tiny nod. That night we didn't play music, didn't pour drinks, didn't kiss much. Just lay close in the dark, his hand on my chest, my fingers wrapped around his wrist. And in the morning, for once, he didn't move first. We stayed there long past sunrise, the trailer bathed in light. His hand never let go. Then finally he spoke. What if I don't want to go back? To what? I asked. To anything. Work. Expectations. All of it. I blinked. You want me to come with you? He smiled for the first time in hours. No, he said. I want you to stay. We didn't pack that day. We didn't even talk about what we'd do next. We just drove. Windows cracked. No map. No plan. Just us. We didn't go back. Not that day, not the next. Instead, we drove with no real destination. Pulled over when we got tired. Picked random exits when we got hungry. It was freedom, but not the wild kind. It was quiet. Intentional. Alex was different behind the wheel. Calmer. Focused in a way I hadn't seen before. Every now and then, he'd glance over and smile like he couldn't believe this was real. And honestly, I couldn't either. But nothing that good stays untouched. We stopped at a gas station on day 3. While Alex filled up, I went inside. Grabbed 2 waters, a granola bar, and when I came back out, he was leaning against the RV talking to someone. Older man, Polite posture, soft voice. But I caught enough of the conversation to recognize what it was. Military? The guy asked. Alex smiled faintly. Used to be. Not anymore. Good rig. You and your brother? Alex hesitated just long enough. No, he said. Partner. The man nodded, took a beat, then gave a tight smile and walked away. Alex watched him go, then turned to me. You heard that? Yeah. I almost lied. But you didn't. He nodded. That's new. We didn't talk about it again. We didn't need to. But later that night, parked near a canyon overlook, the silence was different. He sat beside me in the booth, hands folded, eyes on the dark sky. I used to keep everything in boxes, he said. You know? Labels, control, order, who I was with, who I wasn't, what people saw. I didn't interrupt. But this, he said, United States, there's no box for it. It's not just new, it's unavoidable. I looked at him. Does that scare you or make you want it more? Both, he said, but I'm not running anymore. He paused. There's something else I didn't tell you. My pulse jumped. Okay. Maya texted me. When? Yesterday morning, before we left. I didn't move, just waited. She said she's glad I figured it out, but that I owe her honesty, and I do. I nodded slowly. What did you say? That she deserved better, and that I'm sorry it took someone else for me to be honest about who I am. That hit deeper than I expected. He looked at me. She's not angry, but she doesn't want to hear from me again. And how do you feel about that? Like I earned it, he said, and I still got lucky. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, I want to go back. Not tonight, but soon. I turned to him. To what? To us, but in the world. Not hiding, not pretending we're just road trip buddies. I want the version where we get breakfast together and argue over whose playlist is better and show up to places like we belong. I smiled. We do belong. I know. I just needed time to believe it. Later that night, lying in the narrow bed, he whispered, I still don't know what I'm doing, but I want to keep figuring it out. With you. That's all I need, I said. We pulled into the city 4 days later. Same streets, same noise. But something between us had shifted. Heavier, but more grounded. We parked by his place. Neither of us moved for a while. I don't want this to feel like the ending, he said. It's not, I said. It's just chapter 2. He reached for my hand. Come inside? I nodded. If you're still here, you followed us all the way. From the first spark, to the silent mornings, to the choice to stay. Drop a comment that says we didn't drive home the same way, so we know you felt this journey with us. Until the next story, stay close, stay honest, and never underestimate what begins with a single question.